Hello and welcome back to Hyperplay. The RG40XXH has always been our favourite budget emulation handheld console with a 4-inch screen. That is until the R46H arrived at Hyperplay Towers, and what a beauty it is. So we're going to score them both out of 10 categories and see how they got on. And be sure to stay for the end of the video because we'll tell you exactly how to snag both these machines for a wonderfully cheap price. First of all, ergonomics. The R46H is quite bulky, but with that bulk comes great ergonomics. It's an absolute pleasure to hold. Your pinky fingers slide nicely under the device and you cradle it comfortably in your palms. Very easy to access, the D-pad on top or the stick on the bottom. So the R46H gets a very well-earned 8 from us for ergonomics. Moving on to the RG40XXH, and this is very nice to hold too, although we did find our hands cramping after extremely long play sessions. There's no extra bumps on the back like there are on the R46H, and you do have to tuck your fingers around down, maybe a couple of fingers, not just the pinkies, or rest your hand if you want to play for a long time. So we're going to give ergonomics on the RG40XXH a 6, but that will come into Pocketability later, so we will see. Next up, buttons, sticks and D-pads, and the R46H is serviceable. If you have ever played on an R36S, then you will know the drill. The D-pad and the buttons are a little bit better. The shoulder buttons are in line, slightly tricky to press. It all does the job though on the R46H, so overall a 6 for buttons, D-pad and sticks. No such problem with pressing the shoulder buttons on the RG40XXH, and absolutely best in class buttons and D-pad. The sticks are the same switch style sticks that you see on the R46H, but you do get those lovely triggers at the top and they are a pleasure to tap on. So in terms of buttons and sticks, which do have a bit more resistance than the R46H, and D-pad, the RG40XXH wins that category with a score of 9. Onto the screen. Now this will be very important for a lot of people. And just before we get to those all-important display ratings, please would you give this video a like? It would mean a lot. Many thanks. And here's what we said in our R46H review about its amazing screen. Now let's get to that screen. 1024 by 768 high resolution screen, certainly the highest seen on a budget handheld at this price point, and what a beauty it is. It absolutely pops with colour and the detail is incredibly, well, detailed. I mean, as you can see here, the colours are fantastic and we cannot speak highly enough. We haven't seen such a good screen for under 60 bucks. Indeed, the very best of 16-bit visuals are absolutely no problem whatsoever for the R46H screen. Look at the oranges and the reds and the crispness of the clarity of the picture. We could wax lyrical endlessly about this beauty of a screen and the best screen of any budget device we have ever seen. Getting so lyrical about it, we're even rhyming. Poetry in motion, this display. What beautiful colours. Popping those pixels into your peepers brings a lump to the throat. No surprise at all then that the incredible screen on the R46H scores a whopping 9. The only reason it doesn't get a 10 is because it's marketed as having a 4.2-inch screen, when in fact it is just a 4-inch screen. Onto another lovely 4-inch screen, and this is the Anbernic RG40XXH. Now on release it appeared rather washed out, as you can see in this pre-release promo footage from Anbernic. They didn't get the saturation right at all. Still look pretty crisp and clear, but those colours didn't pop. Well, now they do. Fortunately Anbernic have sorted it out. No more do you have to go deep diving into hidden settings in RetroArch like we showed you on a previous video. Fortunately the screen comes well calibrated now, so you get lovely yellows on Crazy Taxi 1 and Crazy Taxi 2 and good saturation levels throughout. It's only a 480p screen, but at this size that is all you need. And also look at that screen to body ratio. The RG40XXH is smaller than the R46H, and it does make the screen seem slightly bigger, ironically, given that the R46H is marketed as a 4.2-inch screen when actually it's a 4-inch. But on the device, the screen really stands out on the RG40XXH thanks to that screen to body ratio. And you can see it compares very favourably with the R46H screen here, showing the Final Fantasy III title. So yes, very impressed with the RG40XXH screen is not quite as stunning as that of the R46H, but is still more than worthy of bagging a big round 8 from us for its screen. On to build quality. Now this is going to comprise a number of factors, but first, the very first thing we do when we get the device out of the box is to give it a good smell. Smell those plastics and see how toxic smelling the aroma truly is from the cheap Chinese factories. And yeah, the smell wasn't too bad actually, you'll be pleased to hear, on the R46H. Much better and more benign than that of the R36S. But seriously though, the plastics do feel good. You get some lovely colour options, including clear blue and clear purple. Our 7-year-old was devastated we went for this black model. And there's also a non-transparent white model if you prefer that. One thing we would say though on the build quality is that unfortunately the SD card does stick out very slightly from the bottom. There's a sticker over it here, but that's just a quality control checking thing. That is not to keep the SD card in. It is safely snug in the device, so don't worry about that. It just juts out about 1 millimeter. Not ideal, but no problem. But it is not flush to the device once it's in, so a 7 overall for build quality on the R46H. Coming on to the RG40XXH, lovely build quality, best in class again by Anbernic, following on from the buttons and the D-pad. Their plastics are very nice. We would say this one's a bit smooth, which does make it a bit less grippy. We would have liked it a bit more textured on the back, but you can't argue with the plastics here. They even smell good. So yes, overall, going to give the build quality of the RG40XXH a nice big 9. Pocketability. Now this ties in earlier, conversely, with what we were saying about ergonomics. The R46H, bit bigger, bags a 7 because it's quite thick. RG40XXH, bit smaller, gets an 8. Games. How many games are there? 18,435-ish, I think it was, on the R46H, a whopping number, and sure, some of those will be duplicates. The real star of the show for us was this selection of ROM hacks. Fantastic way to get into fan translation and fan hack games, such as Crimson Echoes here on the R46H. Absolutely glorious extra selection of ROM hacks. And yeah, there will be a number of games that are duplicates. There were quite a few Brazilian language duplicates and Japanese language duplicates on the device. I expect that's how they get up to 18,000. But in terms of PSP, you're getting 17 PSP games, 19 PS1 games, 1081 GBA games, 15 DS games, and so on. I mean, where it really goes into overdrive is the SNES, 1,332, but a number of those will be Brazilian and Japanese. So yes, fantastic, but it was these ROM hacks. Even with all the RPGs, Hyper Street Kart was our favourite, the Street Fighter Mario Kart mashup. But yes, you've got your Earthbound hacks, and also Metroid and Zelda hacks, Mario World hacks, absolutely joyous stuff. A real bonus to be had if you're interested in playing these superb fan versions of legendary games. Pokemon, of course, so definitely worth getting an R46H if you're into these ROM hacks or interested in seeing what the fans have done with their favourite games. And some are done to a very high standard, we must admit. Very impressive stuff on the R46H. So in terms of games, the R46H will score a perfect 10 from us. A fantastic collection crammed onto the 64GB memory card that comes with the device. Just the 5,400 odd games on the RG40XXH. It's astonishing saying just. Can you believe in your wildest dreams when you were a kid that you'd be able to have all these games crammed onto a memory card the size of your thumbnail? Just incredible. If you want to see exactly what's on the RG40XXH, check out Jacek Rusyn's video. Jacek, being the hero he is, goes through all the systems and all the games. So an 8 for the collection of games on the RG40XXH. Our next category is performance. Very important indeed. It's all very well the R46H having nearly 20,000 titles, but just how well can it play all those games? Well, most of them incredibly well. Final Fantasy 3 or 6, one of the hardest to run games on an emulator in terms of 16-bit RPGs. And yeah, absolutely fantastic, flawless performance straight out of the gate. Normally, you have to run it through at least once or twice on these consoles to get rid of any stutters. But no, it was flawless all the way through. And here we have Tekken on PS1, and then Mario Kart 64, then World Rally Championship on N64. N64 won't be perfect, but you can play some of the lighter games. So a 7 out of 10 for performance on the R46H. Now, the RG40XXH has the legendary H700 chip, which does better at PSP. You will still need to set frame skipping to 1. We do recommend that, and then you should be golden. But yes, playing very nicely here, GTA Vice City Stories on PSP. Frame skipping 1 and an 8 for performance on the RG40XXH. Quickly moving on to operating system, our 8th category in the R46H says Retroid Boy in the top left on load up. How very, very cheeky, but it does run the Arc OS 2.0, which has served the R36S so very well. Legendary firmware absolutely maxes out the system to get a 10, and you can tinker to your heart's content. Arc OS superb. Also good, the RG40XXH featuring Anbernic's stock OS, their in-house OS. And we recommend going into options in their apps folder and going down to bezels and changing this from auto to off, and then you won't get the letterboxing on your SNES games. Very important, we would say. Russ from Retro Game Core also suggested turning on quick shutdown mode. So basically you can shut down the device and then boot straight back into whatever game you are playing. And he shows how to do it here. Good solid functionality means the RG40XXH scores an 8 from us for its operating system. Our category 9 is connectivity, and well done the R46H, because it comes with a Wi-Fi dongle, which is fantastic, but no other connectivity options, so it gets a 6. The RG40XXH, yes, it has HDMI out. Not important to everyone. Some people just want their handheld games consoles to be resolutely in their hands and held there without being plugged into a TV or monitor, but we love consoleizing our device. It takes us back to how we used to play games back in the old days. So yeah, mini HDMI cable, plug in your RG40XXH, set up your scaling options on your TV, and you are away. Not only that, there is Bluetooth functionality for your controller. Your Bluetooth controller, so your SF Pro 30 or what have you, will work an absolute treat. Just remember, it'll be set to player 2. So that's a little bit curious, and there are a few hiccups sometimes with connecting to the Wi-Fi, but there is inbuilt Wi-Fi, there is Bluetooth, and that is why the RG40XXH scores a lovely 8 out of 10 for its connectivity options. And we come to it at last, our final category, price. Now this is very important because there are some great deals about to go on AliExpress. In fact, we are setting this video to release at exactly the time that the latest and greatest AliExpress deals go live. The prices shown here are the not reduced prices for the sale, but rest assured these are going to come tumbling down, and you can use our coupons, which are not going to be single-use coupons. We're going to scour AliExpress for proper coupons that everyone can use to bring these prices to rock bottom. Absolutely fantastic options. What about the Mangmi Air X, you might say? Well, that's going to be much more, and especially once shipping, tariffs and whatever are included from the Mangmi website. And anyway, when I want to play PS2 and GameCube and PSP, I want to do it on an OLED screen with widescreen hacks and texture packs. And the best option for that is at the mid-tier price level. The Retroid Pocket 5 will have a great link in our description to that wonder console. But we're talking about the ultra budget space, and that is why the R46H and the RG40XXH are so special. These are currently your best options for the ultra budget space. And do you really need anything bigger or more powerful if all you want to do is play 16 and 32-bit games and dabble in a bit of PSP and N64 to boot? So you can save yourself a load of cash. Use our links and coupons if you fancy either of these guys. The R46H gets a 10 for price, the RG40XXH a 9. Fantastic deals on both consoles are available now, so check out the description, which we will keep updated. Overall, RG40XXH just edges it 81 to 80. The bottom line is you can't go wrong with either of these budget beauties, and we bet our bottom dollar that you'll be happy with whichever one you go for. Many thanks for watching. Take care and happy handheld gaming. Bye bye.